People who are, watching this right now are probably also having trouble following along. It's getting pretty late in the evening. Imagine how they're going to feel at 3 a.m. I mean, really. And I think, to be fair, too, we are elected to do a good job. Not just any job, but a good job for the people of Ontario. And here we are. And are we going to be at our best at 3 in the morning? I got to tell you, I have had 2 babies. You are not at your best at 3 in the morning.
If it's passed, Bill 5 will fast-track approvals of resource and infrastructure projects. But it's been under fire from Indigenous and environmental groups. Lorenda Redekop joins us now. So, Lorenda, what was achieved here?
Well, the opposition parties, they succeeded in delaying this. It will pass in the end because the government has a majority. They can push this through. They delayed this, and they also sent a message here. So the NDP opposition, they decided that they were going to filibuster this. So at every point in the process during that committee meeting last night, they were adding different amendments. And the Liberal Party, they also got onto this, and they did the same thing. And so this really slowed down this process that is required here at the legislature, as long as something isn't fast-tracked by the government. And so this may be political games, but it is part of the democratic process. And then you heard Mart Stiles mention 3 a.m. Well, the government, it tried to do its own little bit of political gamesmanship there. And they tried to say, okay, let's have the committee meet all the way until 9 o'clock this morning and, yes, get through this process. That wasn't allowed, and so the committee, it will be back on Monday for this clause by clause going through the bill. That will continue then. There will be time for them to approve this before the summer break, which happens next Thursday.
That was a good line by the NDP leader about 3 a.m. there that we heard from her, Lorenda. Remind us, though, why people are so upset about Bill 5.
So there's really a diverse amount of people and groups who are upset about this. We had some Indigenous chiefs who came to Queen's Park earlier in the week. They're upset that they say that they were not consulted enough, and this is about fast-tracking things like mining projects, things that go through First Nations, and so they wanted to be consulted more. Also, we had environmentalists who came out. They were protesting yesterday along with some First Nations people, and they're upset that they say this would change endangered species legislation. As well, the opposition, they are really upset about these special economic zones. Here's more from Question Period.
This bill is going to completely derail northern development. It is about the laws that they are going to be able to suspend. You can call them special economic zones, but what we know you are doing is opening up the floodgates for an abuse of power by government.
If companies have to wait 15 years to get shovels in the ground, they're going to invest in other jurisdictions. Speaker, we need to get rid of unnecessary red tape, make it easier for companies to invest, to hire, and to grow, and that is exactly what Bill 5 will do.
And so this would allow the government to ignore some provincial and municipal laws in order to get things built. It is expected to pass next week.
This is the ramp, and it's pretty good, steady, right?
Shah Hazard says driving an accessible taxi is very rewarding. He enjoys helping people, but it's not as financially rewarding, even when he works 7 days a week.
If I don't work one day, I'm behind. So I have to be working every single day for me to be like even. And right now I don't save anything. This is like almost like a mortgage.
This year, City Council extended the maximum age limit of wheelchair-accessible taxis to be up to 10 model years old. But Beck Taxi says as of March 2026, 98 out of the 100 vehicles in their fleet will need to be replaced. The concern is that drivers won't want to continue driving accessible vehicles or sign up for the job if they don't feel it's worth it.
There just isn't the motivation or the interest to do that. Drivers just are not making a living, and we're going to be in real trouble.
This as the demand for accessible cabs rises.
And right now, when I talk to customers, they wait at least an hour or two for me to get there. And once I start my car, I don't stop because there's so much demand. I have to go from one place to another. I like to help, but I cannot serve the whole city alone.
In a statement, the city says since 2020, the City of Toronto's Accessibility Fund program provides incentives for wheelchair-accessible taxicab owners and drivers to help offset the costs of providing this service. Adding, the grant is intended to help cover most of the average cost for converting taxicab to wheelchair-accessible vehicles and some vehicle maintenance costs. The program is funded by a charge from the city that applies to rideshare and taxicab operators who do not have an accessible vehicle. The city says up until 2024, around 2,300 vehicles have accessed grants and incentives through the program. Drivers say while this money helps, it's not enough.
It has to work. I mean, the business plan has to exist. It doesn't right now. And what we would like to see, all vehicles, all wheelchair accessible vehicles should be on a single platform. And maybe that's run by the city, maybe that's run by a third party. But if all of the wheelchair accessible vehicles across the city are party to this one platform, people don't have to hope that they're calling the right place to get the service.
Disability advocates say this issue needs to be taken seriously.
Well, being someone that is active within the community, oftentimes calling an accessible cab is really quite challenging, mainly because oftentimes you will need to sit on the phone for quite a long time. For myself, I don't even think about getting anywhere quickly because whether it's TTC or a public cab, one of these is going to let me down.
These are the hooks that I hook the wheelchair in.
Hazard says next year his vehicle will be one of two that isn't set to be removed from the road. He hopes a plan is put in place before then and more funding is provided by the city because he doesn't want to see vulnerable residents left behind.
Our insurance is more than what we're making. Our car payment is we're more than we're making. They have to come up with some solution or convince drivers to come back to this.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.